And it sounds incomprehensible, but the Bible is the Word of God is the truth. The Word of God shall not be returned void. It is the truth. It's not telling about the true. It's as C.S. Lewis said, it's the absolute, the authentic plumb line. And after all this education, when I came to it, I said, this is interesting. What I'm reading here is not some fantasy story of Shiva or Krishna or all the things that you study when you do comparative religion, or even the Bodhisattva. You're reading, Siddhartha, you're reading the truth. You're reading something, and it's only God moving on your heart. God speaks to you through the Word. It's the anointed Word of God. I was just speaking in Philadelphia the other night, and they were saying that the minister said, well, the Word of God was developed, the Bible was developed by the church, and the church can change it anytime it wants. And of course, that's totally wrong. The Bible is the authentic truth of God.
Well, you saw a need when you came to the Lord, when you opened your heart and turned your life over to Jesus. You saw a need to clean up the movie industry that you were working so tirelessly in. Where did you even begin? Where do you start with a project like that?
I was elected head because I went to an Episcopal seminary, head of the Episcopal Radio TV, which had been given the rights to do The Lion, the Witch, and the Ward back in 1954. And we did it finally on television in 1979, 1980. I came in at the very end when they got the...
by 37 million viewers.
But, I looked at that, and that year that we brought it to CBS television, that's a television network down south, there were only 3.
Our viewers are familiar with CBS.
Right. That year, they said, we want to do this as a movie. Well, look, 2005, another 26 years. So I said to myself, if I'm going to do this every 26 years, let's see, maybe we can make 2 movies and I'll die. And we have to change the whole industry. It didn't matter the winning of the Emmy Award. It didn't matter all of the viewers. What matters is how can we encourage Rhonda? How can we encourage Jerry Bruckheimer, who just did Glory Road? So I said, if we can reach people within the industry who have faith and values, if we can fan that flame of faith and values, if we can encourage the people who want to do good stuff, and we have done that. We've seen people grow from one movie with positive Christian virtue in 1985, and through a detailed analysis of the box office, it's now 45% of the movies. Now, saying that doesn't make sense to people. They say 45%, what does that mean? Because they look about the Oscars, and none of the Oscars are in that 45%, so they don't understand. Well, what it is that every week 5 movies open in the United States. I don't know how many movies open in Canada, probably about the same. Well, 2 weeks ago we had Glory Road, which was explicitly Christian director, Christian producer. We had Last Holiday, which is a black movie, but it's a Christian movie. She goes to church, she finds out she only has a few weeks to live. We have Hoodwink, made by Christians who were talking the night it opened at Hollywood Press. So 3 out of the 5. Rhonda, this is incredible. The next week, this is not a rare phenomenon, because the next week you had Into the Spear, which we're going to talk about. You had Michael W. Smith's film. Michael W. Smith is a gospel singer down in, right?
Very familiar to our viewers, yes.
Okay. But anyway, just, when I go on Nightline or whatever, some of them are not familiar with this. And in Second Chance. Now, the interesting thing about these movies is that these movies are being released by the studios. Sony Pictures called me up and said, how can you help us with Michael W. Smith's Second Chance? 20th Century Fox just emailed me and said, these are the big 6 major studios. The films that are up for Academy Awards are done by Focus Feature and Dimension Films, these little tiny companies, and they've become more irrelevant. I had the chairman of Disney, one of the divisions, called me up and he said, my wife and I are going to be at the Movie Guide Awards. And I said, Chuck, why? He said, because we can't get an Academy Award for Narnia. And you are the only people that recognize the good work that we're doing. So the major studios are trying to reach the broad audience. When you talk about
the Movie Guide Awards have been called the Christian Oscars.
Right. But the broad audience, I don't care where you are in the world, the broad audience wants good to triumph over evil because their lives are difficult. The best movie, the #1 movie in Sweden this summer was Madagascar, which was made by Christians. It's a positive movie.
I love that movie.
In Sweden, You wouldn't expect it. In Italy, it was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And, you know, around the world today, it's the Chronicles of Narnia, which has gone over $600 million. It's now at $640 million. Meanwhile, Hollywood, you know, the Golden Globes is touting a movie that's only made $50 million, which at $6 a ticket is about 5 million people in a country of 300 million people, is pathetic. The rest of the world is flocking to Narnia. I had people picked me up in Philadelphia, said they went to it and the theater was jammed and they couldn't get in. People who picked me up in St. Louis, the same thing. Without any publicity. People want the truth. They want the authentic, the true story. They want a savior. They want hope. They've got that God-shaped void in their heart. And maybe they're not, you know, maybe they call themselves Muslims, Buddhists, because in countries that you don't expect, these movies like The Passion, the more Christianity they have in, the better they do at the box office. The more overt it is, the better it does at the box office. When Sony Pictures released Left Behind, which was done by some people in Toronto, the first two, you remember, had been sued because the writer thought there wasn't enough Jesus in it. Sony Pictures, Amy Pascal, who's Jewish, said you have to put more Jesus in it. So this is incredible.
Well, a movie that has been much anticipated, its release, is The End of the Spear.
Right.
The storyline, a number of 5 missionaries go into the eastern Ecuador rainforest to work among one of the most violent tribes known by anthropologists. The 5 missionaries are killed, but the story doesn't end there. Their legacy lives on. And many years later, the son of one of the missionaries who was killed has a chance to actually hear what happened in his father's final hours. We have a clip from The End of the Spear. Let's take a look, and then when we come back, we'll hear what Dr. Ted Baehr has to say about this movie.